Hello guys and welcome to a new episode or a new lesson of our SOLIDWORKS C# standalone. Today we're going to be looking at creating a helper class that's going to assist us in providing some functionalities to the application. So in Visual Studio, I want you to go to the project and go right click on it, go to add, and then let's go and add a new class. Alright, I'm going to call this class helper.cs. And let me just close this notification, and I'm gonna make it as internal and static. Alright, and I'm going to go back to my error list right here. So inside our static helper class, we're going to add a number of methods to replace the custom properties, change the values of the custom properties, get a list of parts from parts and assemblies from a directory in a drop-down fashion, etc. So let's begin by first of all by creating a method that actually gets a list of file names from a directory, and these file names are either SLD Parts or SLD ASM. So we're looking at getting all the SOLIDWORKS assemblies and parts from a specific directory. So this has to be exposed, so we're going to make it internal, and we're going to make it a static, obviously, because you can't have instance methods in a static class, and the return will be an array of string. Let's call this get CAD files let's change this to an F, capital, from directory. And what we want to do is basically fill it in with a parameter, the string parameter that's going to be the directory. Alright, so first let's get the SLD parts from the directory. Right? Obviously we need to check if the directory actually exists first of all. And let's do that by using if system.ao.directory exists directory. If it doesn't exist, so I'm gonna add a parenthesis right there, another one to close. We're going to return a null. Alright, let's add a comment right here, check if directory exists. And then I'm going to jump to the parts, or the string of parts file names, and I'm going to create a string and call it parts, and this is going to take, actually I'm just going to go up right here and add using system.io, because we are going to be using the system input output namespace a lot. So alright, so let's change this to a lowercase d so that the confusion stops. And I'm going to get from directory get files, and I'm going to supply it with the directory parameter that starts with a lowercase d, and then with the search pattern of the asterisk, that means any characters, on all characters, and then .sld works. So this is going to take, or rather get, all the files that end up with the SLD .prt extensions. Obviously, with the search pattern, you can't include multiple extensions at the same time. So we're gonna have to create another. I'll call this assemblies. Another array of string that's gonna get the assemblies file name. So I'm gonna do the same thing again, but this time we're gonna supply it with the SolidWorks assembly extension. Alright, now we are going to create a list of strings, and this one is going to call, this one will call file, new list of strings, and this the list of strings, or rather the files, is gonna have, we're gonna add the parts and the assemblies to the files list. So add range, parts. Let's do that same again. And add range, assemblies. Alright. We do need to check, obviously, if the parts are not null. That is important. So if assemblies is not null, it is possible that directory doesn't contain assemblies or parts files. Now if the file now let's simply just return the files to array. So it is possible that the return, so if an error occurs, it's gonna return a null if the directory doesn't exist. If there are no files, it's gonna return an array of string that has a length of 0, and if it contains files, then it's gonna return an array with a length that is superior to 0. Alright, so this is the first miscellaneous method that we will use. Next, I want to go for add another method, internal static Boolean, and we're gonna replace the custom property value with this method. So this method will take a custom property manager. Just type custom property manager. We're gonna add the SolidWorks namespace in a second. And this is also gonna take a string that is the custom property itself, and another string for the replaceable part of the value, and another string for the replacing value. Alright. We'll get to the implementation in a second. Let's go up right here and add the namespace. So solidworks.interop.sldworks. Alright. So the first thing that we want to do is to get the value of the custom property. So this is always going to be a string. Let's call this val for value, and this is going to get some. This is going to get the return of the method. Let's use get, and here we're gonna just apply it with custom property. Alright, so check if the custom property exists. So if string is null or empty, val. So if it's not null, then obviously we have to do the custom property change right here. we're going to check if the replaceable string exists in the custom property value. Right, so that means if val contains two lowercase contains replaceable, two lowercase, let's just add two lowercase here as well. So if it exists, then let's create a string and call it new val, and this new value is going to get the new value of the custom property. So new val is going to replace the it's going to replace itself. It's going to replace the replaceable by the replacing string. Alright, so add a semicolon to this. Let me just delete these two curly brackets. So if the value actually contains the replaceable string, we're going to replace the new string with the replaceable string with the replacing string, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set the new value to the custom property itself. So CustomPropertyManager set, and we're gonna go to CustomPropertyManager, custom property, the field name and the new value, new val, and this is going to return true. Obviously, the method set actually returns an integer, so you can go ahead and check that and replace it. It might be this. Let me just launch SolidWorks. See what the offline help says about that integer. So the integer is going to return whether the operation of setting the property name is correct or not. And based on that string, we're going to return false or true. So just go to SolidWorks, put it right here, and the method that we were using is set, right? So let's go to set2, and it's going to not present. Okay, so if it returns to 0, it means that the operation has been successful. So that's what we were looking at. So if it returns to 0, that the replacing process has been successful. So let's just go back. Sorry. Let's just go back to Visual Studio, and let's put a return value on the set method, and if ret equals 0, then obviously we're going to return true, and I don't need the curly braces here. Return true, else return false, and if this is not either true, then return false, and that actually removes the method's error. Actually, if we just comment this out, you will see the error that I'm just talking about. So it's gonna say here that the not all the code paths return a value. So let me just remove the uncomment this line, and that puts us back to what we were a second ago. So this method is going to take a string. It's going to also take string as in the name of the custom property, the replaceable value, and then the value that's going to replace it, that's replacing. And it's also going to take the custom property manager of the model. So the custom property manager, obviously we're gonna use the custom property manager of the default configuration rather. So we're gonna use the general custom properties and not the configuration specific. When we get to that part, actually, I'm gonna show you how if you wanna set that to the specific to a specific configuration, and you can hard code this into that program. But we're gonna stick with the we're gonna stick with dealing with the general document level custom properties, and leave that customization for another time. All right, now let's go for another method that we will use. Let's call this one internal static Boolean, and let's delete custom property. Right, this one is going to delete custom property as well. So this one is going to take like the replace custom property is going to take custom property manager, custom property manager, and it's going to take obviously just the name custom property, and inside what we're going to do is that we're going to get basically do the same thing. I'm going to get the custom property value, so that's val custom property here, and get the field name will be custom property short, and we're gonna check if the custom property exists. So if string is null or empty, we're going to check if the custom property exists. So if it does exist, then obviously I'm gonna check the value here, not the custom property itself. So if there's a value, then we'll just simply delete it. So custom property delete, and just supply the field name, which is the custom property parameter, rather field argument. Okay, we're returning true here, and obviously this also returns an integer. So go back to SolidWorks and go and check that. Delete 2. Alright, so 0 is success as well. So let's int ret. So if ret equals 0, then return true. Else return false, and we're gonna return false here as well. Alright, we're making good progress here. So the last method actually is the bread and butter of the helper class. This method is the one that's gonna process an individual CAD file, a model document. So this method, let's make it as internal static Boolean to return whether the part has been correctly processed, and let's call it process model. It's going to take the SLD works, the SLD works object, the string, the file name here. It's going to be the file name, a list of custom properties. We're going to take this from the grid view in the user interface. Custom property object. So for reasons of simplicity, we're gonna supply it here. We're gonna have a parameter of that has the type of list of custom property object, which is in itself is an object model class that we're gonna initialize later. This is gonna help us bind data to a grid view in the user interface easier. So we'll get to this part in a later lesson, how we're going to use the custom property object to display custom properties in a grid view in the user interface. But what we're going to do now is we're going to finish, first of all, the declaration of the signature of this method, and we're going to add a simple object model class that's gonna have just a simple constructor. It's gonna take a name and a value of the custom property. And finally, we're gonna ask for a cancellation token. Cancellation token. Make sure I've written that correctly. I'm gonna call this cancellation token. Go back here. I am going to, using threading, add the namespace. Let's create our class right quick. So I'm going to, I'm going to go and add a new class. And I'm going to call this custom property object.cs. This is going to be internal. I'm just going to public. This is going to be the default constructor. I'm gonna add two properties. I'm gonna change the publics to internals in just a second. So it's going to be the name of the custom property, and this is going to be the value. Change that to value, and I'm going to change this to internal as well. Alright. Let's add another constructor right here. And we're gonna take name, value, and set the name to the value, and set the value to the value, and set the name to the name, and set the value to the value. If we go back, we can see that the error, let's call the list as in custom properties. Okay, now let's add an implementation. Alright, so what we are going to do is that we're going to first of all open the SW model, rather the CAD file. So we're going to use open.6 from the SLDWorks object. We're going to check whether it's a model, assembly, or a part using the extension from the file. And we're going to, as I said, open that using open.6. So we're going to need two variables of type integer. So that's going to be the integer for the warning. This is going to be the integer for the error. And let's just declare these as zeros. And first of all, we're going to check if, and let's put everything together inside a catch block bracket. So first of all, we're going to check if the cancellation token, if the cancellation token, if this cancellation token is cancellation requested. So that means So this method is going to be launched from from a thread from the process button that we're going to create in the user interface, and that will launch a thread itself. So if the user clicks the cancel button, it's going to create a cancellation token source that's gonna set the cancellation token, and it's gonna then set it to cancel to the canceled state. So when we process a file, when we process a model, the first thing that we need to check if the cancellation token, if there was a cancellation request, that means that the user has requested a cancellation. So that way we can save ourselves the hassle of processing a part. So we'll return false. That means not to process the part. If not, then we're gonna start by getting the extension, right? So extension, string extension, path dot get extension. I'm gonna get a file name, int type equals to 0. I'm gonna use this in a second. So if extension to lower contains what does this contain? Contain SLD PRT. That means the part is the model is a part. So we're gonna set type to int, and here we're gonna have to go back in here and add another using statement. So SolidWorks .interrupt that SW const, and the reason why we're using this int type is because the method open.doc6 that's gonna get us a model doc requires you to provide the type of the document that's gonna attempt to open. Obviously they could have figured out putting this inside the methods implementation, but you know, what the heck. This is going to be SW document type, and this is going to be a part. Else, obviously, it's going to be an assembly, and yeah, and drone documents do not have custom properties. All right, so this is going to be a assembly. All right, so let's set SW app to visible equal false. Yeah. And let's get the model doc, or rather, I'm gonna remove this from here. And I'm gonna go back to the singleton and get application async. And let's remove this because we don't need that. So as model doc 2, let's call this SW model, SW app open doc 6, 6. Sorry, and this is gonna take the file name, the type, the options, SW open doc options. How do I want to open the document? Let's open as silent, yeah. And configuration, let's open the default configuration, ref error, ref warning. All right, as model doc 2. Yep. All right, small typo right here. So this is file, not file name. All right. So if warning plus error different to 0, that means we're not good. There's an error, there's a warning. Let's call it return false. Or rather, let's just remove the warning because it doesn't matter. We only need warnings. Only the because we're talking about custom properties. I'm not sure if the warnings are gonna affect much the way that we deal with custom properties. So let's keep it at warning right there. And we're gonna force the SW model doc to be visibly false or invisible, since OpenDocs will make the document visible. So we need to set that to false. And we're gonna check first of all if SW model doc is not null. Then we're gonna return actually false, but if it's equal to null, rather, not null. Alright, so let's go for each custom property object in, let's call it obj, in the list, which is custom properties. Each one of these we are going to call the gracious method. We're gonna first get the custom property manager, right? Let's call it custom property manager, and this is going to be from the custom, I think it's in the extension, yeah, and this is going to take the configuration name. So if we supply an empty string, it's going to take the default configuration. If you want to change this, then obviously we're going to have to add a variable right here. This is going to go up right here in the method's declaration, and we're going to have to add another argument that's going to be the configuration name, and we're going to have to supply that from the user interface. But for now, let's keep it as simple as this and only deal with the default configuration. And after we get that, let's check if we are going to delete that custom property, or let's go first if we want to delete it, right? Alright, so how do we delete a custom property? Alright, let's go back to the object model. I think I've forgotten to add another internal, but rather Boolean delete. So this object model is going to contain a Boolean for deleting the custom property, and this is going to translate in the user interface in the grid view into a checkbox. Now when the user checks the delete checkbox, this is going to translate to a true, meaning that the user actually wants the custom property to be deleted. And the way that we detect that here is by checking if the custom property from the list, the object, is delete, means that we're going to delete that custom property. And the way we do that, obviously, is through the method delete custom property. Let's give it the custom property manager object, and then let's give it the name of that custom property object name. Great. Now, if it's not going to be deleted, let's try to replace. So let's go to else, and this is going to replace the custom property values with custom property manager. String. This is going to be obey the name, right? Replacing the replaceable, it's going to be the value, right? And the replacing string is going to be the new value. So it appears that we need to add a new value as well. Alright, so let me add obey.newValue. Alright, let me just add a semicolon here and just go back to the object model and create another new val, and let's add another string here, new val. Right, so let's make that a lowercase. So new val equals new val. So the way that this is going to translate in the user interface is that we're going to have a grid view, a table that has the first column as the delete, the second column as the name, the third column as the value, and the fourth column as the new value, and that makes more sense. So this is going to be the new val. All right. And why is it throwing an error? Sorry. Let's go back and check. Yep, this is the error. Alright. Let's go back to our helper function. And after this, what we are going to do is to save the file. So we need to save the file. Alright, so let's save the file right here. And call document.save. Sorry. wmodel.save. And let's save as silent. Extension. Rather, sorry. Save silent. Save as silent, and then we are going to quit the doc SW model get title. All right. Set SW model finally to null. All right. Let's go here and return a true. Return a true, and if there are any errors whatsoever, you're not gonna bother with this. I'm just gonna return. I'm not gonna implement a login error login system, so we're gonna rather return a false. And I'll return the true right here. All right, and with that, I think we are basically finished with the helper class. There are going to be other methods that we can add later when we create the UI. So that's going to be our lesson for the next time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.